Blah, blah. No, no, no. Well, I skipped all my awkward. Okay, it's one of my awkward skeletons. Okay, it's called Grave Shenanigans. This has always been a Queensguard deck, but I recently switched this to Queensguard slash discard deck. And it's all kind of, I mean, the Queensguard and the discard is all, they kind of sync up decently with each other. And this is just for comparison. I mean, I don't think I have any other Queensguard decks, but like this is my other discard deck that I made a while ago. And as you can see, the cards, it looks pretty similar. The only outstanding difference, I think, is that I have these war longships that do the damage when you discard, and that's just that's a little too situational. But anyway, let's go back to Grave Shenanigans here. I'm just gonna go over the deck, and then we are gonna play it at least once at ranking today. Maybe we'll get my butt kicked and won't look as impressive as I want it to, but we're just gonna go through this. So here's Queensguard. So it is you put one on the field, it resurrects the other ones. And yeah, it's kind of hard to, if you've never seen how Queensguard work, it's kind of hard to explain just how powerful it is when all you see are these little fours. But trust me, we're going to see how it syncs up with these other cards. There are ways to make this very powerful. So this is the Clan on Crate Raider. Ideally, you never have to play one of these cards. This is a card where it syncs up with all your discard cards. So something makes you get rid of one of these cards, either from your deck or your hand, and it ends up on the field instead of getting discarded. So that discard doesn't sting. It actually, it cancels out the pain to you of a discard, and really it turns a loss into a gain, and that's pretty big. The Clan Demon Pirate Captain. This is like so many other decks. There's it's an effect that it gets bigger over time as certain things are going on with your deck, and this can become, I've seen this go up to, I think, 16, maybe 17 strength creature in my third round, and of course it really depends on how many discard effects you get through, but yeah, it becomes quite strong. And so yeah, you want to have 3, and this is the Clan Demon Pirate. It's really just there to throw one of these bros, throws his other bros from your deck into your graveyard, which doesn't seem that strong on the surface, but it's really nice because it's, first of all, like I said, it's buffing this Clan Demon Pirate, and you're getting these bronzes out of your deck, so you're getting more frequent access to the other bronzes you want to pop up, the golds and silvers. So it's quite nice. It's quite nice. And we just have Igni, and it's just there's next to no control in this deck. So an Igni to balance that out is nice. And Sirius, and this is kind of the same theme as the Queensguard. The Queensguard feeds into this card is you're going to be doing a lot of resurrections because, like I said, this Clan on Crate Raider resurrects too. So there's going to be a lot of resurrecting going. I'm sure you can see down here the Priestess of Freya. This deck does a lot of resurrecting, and there's ways to make. I mean, I could have made this deck added even more resurrecting. I don't have a lot of resurrecting silvers, but in spite of that, there's still quite a lot of resurrecting in this deck, and I can still, it's pretty common for me to get Sirius back a couple times over the course of a game. She can be straight discarded off the bat with Bran or played on your first turn, but yeah, very handy to have another card that resurrects itself, basically. Ermion, this card is huge. This is belongs in every discard deck, obviously, and I think everyone's got access to this one. And yeah, so you are discarding to, like I said, the reasons you're discarding to buff this Clan Demon Pirate. If you happen to have a couple Clan on Crate Raiders in your hand, that's just going out for free. And if you're in a pinch, you know, and you have multiple Queensguard, that's another discard option. Clan Tursic Skirmishers, if you got nothing better, that's another discard option. But yeah, you want to discard and then you draw two. That's big. Anything that there's not a lot of things that it's hard to. There are not a lot of cards in the game that let you draw two cards. So this deck is designed to take the sting out of discarding, obviously, with these Klon on crate Raiders. So that's huge. Drawing two cards is huge. Madman Lugos. So you discard a bronze from your deck, and that deals damage, and it's awesome. Again, the Klon on crate Raider feeds into this. You can discard a Raider straight from your deck, get that creature out, and you do damage, and you put the 7-point gold down. Pretty snazzy. And in other decks, I've quite liked this card with, you know, what's his name? What's his name? What's the name of that card? I had to go all the way over. It's quite a good combo with Hjalmar, but this deck is not a Hjalmar deck, so we're just going to move on. Donna and Hindar. I don't have a lot of ways to lock in this deck. It should be noted that discarding the bronze random to your graveyard from the opponent's deck does count as one of your discards, so that does feed the Clan Demon Pirate. And locks, there's not like I said, there's not a lot of control in this deck, so you got to pick what to lock carefully, but getting a lock in there is huge. And every once in a while, you might discard something really cool from a really cool bronze from your opponent's deck that you can get back with Priestess of Freya. So yeah, it's a really good card. If you can locking, you might feel the pressure to lock early on, and if you have to do it, you have to do it. But if you can hold off, there's two good reasons to try and hold off Donna Hindar till at least the second round. Is that he has the veteran, and you don't want to pull bronzes out of your opponent's deck too early if you can help it, because that might bring them closer to silvers and golds. Not necessarily, it's just possible. So anyway, Operator. The main point of Operator is to bring another Queensguard into the deck. If you that needs 4 Queensguards. So I'm really happy whenever I get Operator on the first turn. I put another Queensguard in my hand, and then you know, that's like an extra chance to resurrect, or that's an extra pile of you know, or that's an extra big resurrection when you get all your Queensguard back with like a Priestess of Freya, and all those extra. So that's going to be extra resurrections for you, which helps feed your Ceres. So it's very nice to have the Operator in here. The Priestess of Freya, that's obvious. You have I don't think I ever went into the Clan Tertiary Skirmisher, but yes, I think that's obvious. You are gonna have to spend a lot of time getting rid of cards. If you don't have any other options, the Skirmisher is decent, and it's a nice backup option. If something, you really don't want anything to mess with your Queensguard, but if something does happen to them, it's a nice backup option. And you have these Priestess of Freya down here, so there are a lot of basically the main 2 bronzes you want to get back are you get a bunch of Queensguard or this Clan Tursic Skirmishers, and yeah, it's there that getting a whole bunch of Queensguard or your Skirmishers can put a lot of points on the board. So you definitely want at least 2 Priestess of Freya in your deck. Some people like the 3, but I've just found with my ratio I could pull it back to that. But there you go. Gremist. This is just like one of those you know, mage cards like this are popular, multi-purpose. There's next to no weather control in this deck, so stopping a couple weather effects at the right time can be a big deal. Especially your bronzes are also precious. You don't really have room to put Clear Skies in this deck, so yeah, it makes sense to have a Gremist. And if you're not dealing with weather for some then you've got options of Impenetrable Fog to deal a bunch of damage over time, or Blood Curling Roar can put a bunch of points on the board. Figravida, this is your only resurrection card that can resurrect silvers, and that's a big deal. You can't get your operator back, but you can get your Dawn and Hinder back, which gets you an extra lock, or Grimace, which gets you extra weather control, or Svarga, I don't know, and which gets you an extra discard slash gets you an extra draw and discard, or Dreg Bondu, which I'll get into a second, but yeah, being able to resurrect silvers is huge. Sometimes you might run out of other resurrections options and you need to get your Queensguard back. So, yeah, Sigrifid, it's a no-brainer. And we have Dreg Bondu. This card has got nerfed a little bit, but still I would say it's still pretty strong. So this is really here to buff your Queensguards, and this can lead to a bunch of cumulative points of turn. Like if you did that in your, you get your put a couple Queensguard in your graveyard first turn with King Bran, then you're buffing right away with Dreg Bondu. Then that's that's an extra. I mean that's only an extra 6 points of you're getting on that turn, but think about that. You're the goal of this deck is to bring back the Queensguard every round. So, that's 6 on the first round, 6 on the second round, 6 on the third round. And you could go nuts and bring it back with Sigrifa, and then that's just a crazy amount of points over time. But, yeah, there's Dreg Bondu. And then finally, Svarage, it's doing basically the same thing as Ermion, only not as crazy strong. But, yeah, you want to discard to... I've already explained the reasons behind the discarding, and drawing a card is always great. So, yeah, Svarg is in there. And it was really hard to... There were a lot of cards, especially silvers, that were contenders to put in this deck. Like, I had Morkvarg in here at one point. I had Holgar in here at one point. I had, it's been tough. It's been tough to pick between... what's going in, and but that's how I put it together. Yeah, I think my last big switch was switching Morkvarg out for a Gremist, because the total number, the Morkvarg was quite nice because all those extra resurrections meant Sirius was coming out more often, but the weather really can be devastating if you don't, there can be certain situations where weather for too long can be a lot more devastating than Morkvarg could help. So, Gremist ended up going back in. But there are a lot of competing choices for the golds. But anyway, that is how I put that deck together. And of course, King Bran's got to be the leader of this deck. And yeah, no, not too much reason to put specials in. So that's the Grave Shenanigans deck. Yep. I've certainly not been short on explaining that thoroughly, and my big thing has been that for a long time it was the